Can I move this to this side? Okay. Yes, yes. I think so. Here we go.
You can start whenever.
Okay. Is it already recording? Oh. Okay. Okay, lesson 2. Operations with fractions. Multiplying fractions. Aims and objectives. The students will perform the basic operation of multiplication with rational numbers. The purpose of this lesson is to reinforce the rules of basic operations with rational numbers. Students will multiply fractions. How to multiply fractions. Step 1. Change all mixed fractions, if any, to improper fractions. Step 2. Multiply out the numerators. Step 3. Multiply out the denominators. Step 4. Change the improper fraction to a mixed fraction and simplify if possible. How to multiply fractions. Example, multiply a fraction by a fraction. 4/5 times 10/7. Solution, 4/5 times 10/7. Multiply numerators straight across. 4 times 10. Multiply denominators straight across. 5 times 7. 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 7, 35, equals 1 1/7. Straight across. 40. Straight across. 35. 1 1/7. 1 5/35. 5/5 equals 1/7. You change the improper fraction to a mixed fraction and simplify the result. How to multiply fractions. You may simplify, if possible, before calculating the final results. You simplify by canceling out common factors. Right here we see that 10 and 5, they have a common factor of 5. So you can cancel out the 5, replace it with a 1, cancel the 10, replace it with a 2. Remember, only top numbers can cancel bottom numbers. You cannot cancel top numbers together. This 4 and this 10 cannot be canceled. Only top to bottom. Now we have 4 times 2 over 1 times 7. That gives us 8/7 equals 1 1/7. Multiply fractions by whole numbers. We can write any whole number as a fraction with a denominator of 1. For example, write 3 as 3/1. If it says find 4 times 3/5, we know that 4 becomes 4/1 times 3/5. Multiply the numerators, 4 times 3. Multiply the denominators, 1 times 5. That becomes 12/5. Change the result to a mixed number, 2 2/5. Multiplying mixed fractions. We have 3 2/3 and 4 1/5. First, you convert the mixed fractions to improper fractions. So 3 2/3 becomes 11/3. Remember, for mixed number, we multiply the numerator by the whole number, and then we add the numerator. So denominator times whole number is 9. Add the numerator, plus 2 gives us 11, and we make that over the denominator, over 3. 11 over 3 times 4 and 1/5, multiply the denominator by the whole number, that gives us 20, plus the numerator, 21 over 5. Now remember, we can simplify by canceling out. We cancel 3 and 21. They both have a common factor of 3. So this 3 becomes a 1, 21 becomes a 7. We now have 7 times 11 divided by 1 times 5. 77 divided by 5 equals 15 and 2/5. You change the improper fraction back to a mixed number. So 77 over 5 becomes 15 and 2/5. Multiplying fractions. Practice. Go ahead and start with these. We know for this first one, we make 6 over 1. Multiply out the top. 6 times 7, 42 over 12. Then divide 42 by 12. Goes in 3 times. Subtract 36. That gives you a remainder of 6. So we have 3 and 6/12. 6 over 12 reduces to 1/2. 3 and 1/2. That's supposed to be a 2. 3 and 1/2. Okay, now we'll go on to one of the more difficult ones. So for number 10, we have negative 1 over 12 times 2 over 5 times negative 3. So we know that the top is going to be negative 1 times 2 times negative 3. The bottom will be 12. We already have the negative on the top. We don't need to repeat it. Times 5 times 1. This negative 3 becomes negative 3 over 1. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 times negative 3 equals positive 6. We then have 12 times 5. 12 multiplied by 5. That gives us It gives us 60. 12 times 5, 60. We have 6 over 60. 6 over 60 reduces to 1 over 10. They both are divided by 6. Now for number 11, the first thing we're going to do, convert the mixed number into an improper fraction. 3 and 1/4 is 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1, 13, gives us 13 over 4 times negative 2 on the bottom, 1 times 1, 1 over 1. So right here on the bottom, we see that it's going to be 4 times 1 times 1, 4. The top is going to be 13 times negative 2. 13 times negative 2 is negative 26. Now we have negative 26 divided by 4. That goes in 6 times to give us 24 with a remainder of 2. So we know the answer is going to be 6 and 2 over 4, which we know reduces to 1/2. And we don't want to forget that we have a negative. Remember, a negative times a positive always equals a negative. So the final answer is negative 6 and 1/2. Now we'll do number 13. The first thing we do is work inside the parentheses. 2 over 3 times 5 over 10. Multiply the numerators. 2 times 5, 10 over 3 times 2, 6. Or what we can do is, remember, we can cancel. This 2 and this 2 have a common factor of 2. We can cancel them out and make both of them 1, which means that we have 5 times 1 over 3 times 1, which is the exact same as 10 over 6. 5 over 3. We then keep the subtraction sign and we do the other side. 2 over 3 times 25 over 4. Now, 2 over 4 can reduce. 2 and 4 have a common factor of 2. So the 2 becomes a 1, the 4 becomes a 2. The 25 and the 3 do not have a common factor, so they have to stay. So we have on the top 25 times 1 over 3 times 2 is 6. Now, remember, when we subtract fractions, we need to find the lowest common denominator. And we know already that 6 is going to be the lowest common denominator. 5/3 equals 10/6. So we now know that it is 10/6 minus 25/6. Subtract the numerators. 10 minus 25 is negative 15 over 6. We now have to convert this back into a mixed number. Negative 15 divided by 6, that goes in 2 times for 12, with a remainder of 3. So 3 over 6 is the remainder, which we know is 1/2. And don't forget that we're using a negative. So the answer is negative 2 and 1/2. Go ahead and make sure you can do the rest of these examples following the same protocol. Multiply the numerators, then multiply the denominators. Reduce if possible. Always work inside parentheses first. And do not forget, if you're using negatives, negative times a positive is a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. Now, multiplying fractions, word problems. The first thing you need to remember is that of means multiply. Whenever you see the word of in a mathematical word problem, it will mean multiply. Now, examples. You walk a 4-mile route halfway. So you walk half of a 4-mile route. How far did you walk? 2 miles. You walk a 3/4-mile route twice. So you walk 3/4 of a mile twice. 2 times. 2 over 1. Multiply out the numerators. 6. Multiply the denominators. 4. Or we can automatically reduce this. The 2 becomes a 1. The 4 becomes a 2. We have 3 times 1. 3. 2 times 1. 2. Make that back into a mixed number, and we have 1 and 1/2 miles. You walk a 3/4-mile route twice. 3/4 times 2. A $12 ticket to the magic show is on sale for 2/3 of the original price. What is the original price? $12. So we know that the ticket is 2/3 of the original price. $12. 2/3 times 12 over 1. First thing we do, 3 and 12. They have a common factor of 3. 3 becomes 1, 12 becomes 4. Now we multiply the numerators. 4 times 2 is 8. Now the denominators. 1 times 1. 1. What is the new price of the ticket? $8. Your family eats 1/8 of half of a leftover wedding cake. How much of the original cake is that? Well, they ate 1/8 of, which we remember always means multiply, 1/2. 1 over 1 is 1. 8 times 2 is 16. So they ate 1/16 of the whole cake. Right here we have all that work once again. You walk a 4-mile route halfway, 1/2 of 4, or 1/2 times 4. 3/4 mile route twice, 2 times 3/4, or 3/4. $12 ticket to the magic show is on sale for 2/3 of the original price. 2/3 of 12, 2/3 times 12. Your family eats 1/8 of 1/2 of a leftover wedding cake. 1/8 of 1/2, or 1/8 times 1/2. Now, one more word problem. There are 18 kids at a birthday party. Half of the kids have blue eyes. How many kids do not have blue eyes? First thing we use is that 18 kids at a birthday party. Half of the kids have blue eyes. So we know half of 18 have blue eyes. 18 times 1/2. You can automatically reduce because 18 and 2 have a common factor of 2. So we have 9 out of that 18, and this 2 becomes a 1. So 9 times 1 is 9. 1 times 1 is 1. So 9 kids have blue eyes. But the question said, how many kids do not have blue eyes? Well, we know that there were 18 kids total. We know that 9 have blue eyes. So subtract 9 from the total number of kids. 18 minus 9. 9 kids do not have blue eyes. If 9 kids have blue eyes, 9 kids do not have blue eyes. A recipe for banana oat muffins calls for 3/4 of a cup of old-fashioned oats. You are making half of the recipe. How much oats should you use? Well, if you're making half of the recipe, you need half of what the full recipe calls for. So you want half of 3/4 of a cup, or 1/2 times 3/4. We have 1 over 2 times 3 over 4. 1 over 2 times 3 over 4. 1 times 3, 3. 2 times 4, 8. You need 3/8 of a cup of oats. Right here. Recipe for banana oat calls for 3/4 of a cup. Here's 3/4 of a cup. You are making half of the recipe. You only want half. The whole cup can be divided into 8 parts equally. You need half, or 3/8 of a cup. There's some pictures. Peter's truck gets in 10 2/3 miles per gallon. Suppose Peter's tank is empty and he puts 5.5 gallons. How far can Peter go with the truck? Solution. Peter can go 10 2/3 miles per gallon. So for 1 gallon, he can go 10 2/3 miles. He puts in 5.5 gallons. How far can he go? We multiply 10 2/3 miles times 5 1/2 gallons. First thing we do, convert these into improper fractions. 10 2/3 becomes 32 over 3. 5 1/2 becomes 11 over 2. First thing we do when we multiply the numerators and denominators is we cancel out 32 with 2. They have a common factor of 2. 2 becomes 1, 32 becomes 16. 16 times 11 is 176. 3 times 1 is 3, giving us 58.66 miles. The truck can go 58.66 miles on 5 1/2 gallons of gas. Here are some practice word problems. The apples cost $1.50 per pound. How much would it cost for 3 pounds? I'll set it up for you. We have $1.50 per pound. How much would it cost for 3 pounds? Multiply it by 3 pounds. Band practice lasted 1 1/4 hours. 2/3 of that time was spent marching. How much time was spent marching? Well, 2/3 of band practice, so we know we're going to use multiplication. Band practice was 1 1/4 hours. 1 and 1 over 4. So we have 2/3 times 1 and 1 over 4. There are usually 30 students in Mrs. June's 3rd grade class. 1/5 of the students are absent. How many students were in class? Well, we know that 1/5 of class of 30 were absent. That's going to give us the number of children that was absent. 30 over 5. 30 divided by 5. 6. 6 students were absent. How many students were in class? Well, 30 students total minus the 6 students that were absent gives us 24 students were in class. Monica and Ryan shared 18 cookies. Monica ate 1/6 of the cookies. Ryan ate 1/3 of the cookies. How many cookies were left? Well, we looked at this kind of problem earlier. We have 18 total. 18 times 1/3, the number that Ryan ate, plus 18 times 1/6, the number that Monica ate, is going to give us the number of cookies eaten. So we have 18 times 1 over 3. Remember that 18 is 18 over 1. 3 and 8 have a common factor of 3. So we cancel out the 3 and we cancel out the 18 to a 6. So we know that Ryan ate 6 cookies plus Monica ate 1/6 of 18. So 18 over 1 times 1 over 6. Again, common multiple. 6 becomes 1. 18 becomes 3. We know that Monica ate 3 cookies. Together, Monica and Ryan ate 9 cookies. How many cookies were left? There were 18 total. 9 have been eaten. There are 9 left. Cheer practice is 2 1/2 hours long. Cheer practice is split up into 2 groups, cheering and dancing, and stunting. If 1 1/3 of cheer was spent stunting, how long was spent cheering and dancing? Well, we know that it is 2 1/2 hours long. 1 1/3 was spent cheering and dancing. How long was spent? 1 1/3 of cheer was spent stunting. How long was spent cheering and dancing? 2 1/2 times 1 1/3. First, we convert those into improper fractions. 2 times 2 plus 1. 5 over 2 times 1 1/3. 3 plus 1, 4/3. Reduce this down. 1 over 2, giving us 10 over 3. Convert that back into a mixed number. 10 divided by 3 is 3 and 1/3. If 1 and 1/3 of cheering was spent stunting, how long was spent cheering and dancing? Okay, I believe this problem was worded incorrectly. We're going to go back. We're going to say if 1/3 of cheer was spent stunting, how long was spent cheering and dancing? We're not going to use that 1. So if 1/3 of cheer was spent stunting, how long was spent cheering and dancing? 2.5 hours total times 1/3, the amount spent stunting. Convert this into an improper fraction from a mixed number. 2 and 1/2 becomes 5 halves times 1 over 3 equals 5 sixths. 5 sixths was spent cheering and dancing. How long was spent stunting? How long was spent cheering and dancing? Well, we know that was 2.5 total minus 5 sixths. Convert this into a improper fraction. 5 halves minus 5 sixths. Least common multiple. Multiply both by 3, giving us 15 over 6. 15 minus 5 is 10 over 6. That goes in 1 time with a remainder of 4 over 10, which gives us 2 and 2/5. So 1 and 2/5 hours was spent cheering and dancing. 5/6 was spent stunting. 1 and 2/5 was spent cheering and dancing. Okay, so go ahead and go back over the practice problems. And that is how you multiply fractions and multiply fractions from word problems. Yep.
What's up?
When you rewatch it, you're gonna see an awkward moment. I think that question right there is I don't think this one is supposed to be here because 1 1/3 of cheer was spent stunting would make it more than a total amount.
Okay, we'll double check it.
And so I was like sitting there and I was like, I don't think this one's supposed to be there. But so I redid the problem.